figure out how to do it. I don't think I can do it from here. Hello, Facebook. Hello, YouTube. How you guys doing? We are trying to do a little bit of sharing here on the Facebook. But we're going to be talking about tonight the Black Panther movie. We're going to do a review of it. And we're going to review it from the standpoint, from a political aspect, a race aspect, alchemy, definitely, chakras. We're going to look at this movie from a lot of different points and things we can pick up and learn from the movie itself. And I am doing this with no notes whatsoever. So we're just going to make it happen. We're going to give some people some time to get on here. When you get on here, say hello, how you doing, what's your name. And of course, I was going to do a straight review video and I was just going to do it myself. But I want to hear your questions. I want to know what you guys think. What's going on in your mind as far as, questions you may have about the movie, thoughts you may have had about the movie. We really want to break it down. So we're going to spend about an hour talking about the Black Panther movie that has broke the bank. Some people like it, some people didn't. We're also going to talk about some of the backlash that some people have had towards this movie. How some people didn't like it. Some people saying that black people shouldn't go see it. The lady quoted, tweeting like, when can a white person go see it? Some of the stupidity around the movie. And yes, I'm calling it stupidity. Now I will go ahead and say I am biased. Not biased because I am of melanin, of dark melanin. I'm biased because I'm a fanboy. I'm a fanboy of Marvel Comics. I proudly boast a good collection of comic books. So I'm a fan. I'm a fanboy. But definitely get ready to start asking some questions because we are going to go full steam into this in just a minute. Just getting some sharing done. But I need some people to tell me, hey, how you doing? Who are you? Let me know your name, that sort of thing. My Facebook people, and I'm going back and forth because I'm on YouTube and I'm on Facebook. So YouTube, Facebook, YouTube, Facebook, YouTube, Facebook. So try to stay with me. Don't get mad if I'm not looking dead at you the whole time. But all right, that's about all the sharing that I'm going to do. So I want you guys to do some sharing as well. All right, so let's get some sharing going here. Almost set. Ready, set. That's all we're going to do as far as that's going to. Okay, so all right, so I took 3 minutes to do a whole bunch of sharing on Facebook, and now I'm done with that. I appreciate if you guys would share the feed as well. And like I said, if you have any questions, definitely, let's go ahead and start asking those questions or getting your questions ready. So let's go ahead and do a first basic breakdown of the movie Black Panther. I got to go see it with my family this past weekend. We invaded the theater. We was first ones in line for our showing. And so we got in there and we was excited, hyped to see this movie. Black Panther, T'Challa. If you saw Captain America Civil War, then of course you saw him in that movie. Now this brings us to his own movie in Wakanda. Wakanda is a fictitious African nation that they explained in the first part of the movie how a meteorite crashed into the land, barreled down. It created all these demons within some of the people who touched it directly, and that's a whole alchemical thing we're going to get to of how they touched it directly. But then the first Black Panther prayed to his goddess Bast, who is the female panther god. He prayed to Bast. Bast imbued him with the Black Panther power. He became the first Black Panther. Now, from that and organizing the community, the tribes, these 7 tribes, they created the country of Wakanda, because of the vibranium metal of this meteorite, they were able to advance further than any other nation throughout history. But recognizing what they had, recognizing how man would come and always war for whatever is the hottest thing and minerals, and just like we saw throughout our own personal true life history of the colonization of Africa for its minerals and for its human minerals, for its human resources. Wakanda became an isolationist country. didn't allow anybody in, made them think that they were just, old style farmers, right? So, hey, how you doing? Papa, what's up, man? So that was the situation. Now, by doing this, they kind of stayed out of the geopolitical world, right? They stayed out, and they allowed the world to happen around them while they enjoyed their kind of Eden-like existence. The first thing I want you guys to understand, in order to understand Wakanda, the Black Panther, you first got to understand the material that they was dealing with, which was the vibranium. Now, for some of my alchemical hermetic people, we know that in the Kabbalion, the third law that it speaks about is the law of vibration. And many people today are allowing themselves to talk about their vibration and getting into the right frequency. So vibranium is a symbol of the law of vibration. And when you watch the movie, one of the things you'll recognize throughout the movie, it talks about how scientifically they were able to use vibranium in different phases in order for them to increase their intelligence, to weave it into their clothing, to use it as an energy source, to use it as a medical, it's for medical properties. What they're showing you and telling you esoterically and alchemically is that vibranium means your vibration, how you vibrate in the community, how you vibrate mentally, how you vibrate energetically, how you on this matter plane, how you vibrate. Everything in vibranium was manifested based on the frequency that they were able to change the metal into. And you see, even when they talked about and how the vibranium got into their food, which then we know you are what you eat. So if the vibranium gets into the plant life, they eat the plants, and the vibranium becomes a part of who they were. Because if you remember, they all pull their lip down, and you see that they got it inside their bodies. But their constant ingestion of vibranium allows them to become who they are. Now, I want you guys to think about something. If you're truly into alchemy, then you know that smelting base metals and trying to find the philosopher's stone, which then should pull off the elixir of life, which is supposed to be you drinking a metal in liquid form, is the thing that gives you like long life and vitality and increased brain neuron transmission. Alchemically, Western alchemists have always done this with a furnace, smelting pot, and try to create these metals, right? And drink it. And a lot of them died from like mercury poison and that sort of thing. But what the vibranium was able to do is put it into the plant life so that the plants would go through the alchemical process for you, and then you can eat it and it becomes part of your body. So what they were showing you is that the base metal goes through the plant sifts it out and puts it in a proper format. Now your body can handle it so that you won't die and that you age well and that you live longer, that you're stronger, that you have abilities, and if you know this, monatomic gold has been many people they drink monatomic gold so that their brain waves will have more gold in it. And we know that if you send an electric charge from here to California, from Atlanta to California, through a line that is made of pure gold, the amount of energy that it starts out in Atlanta will be the exact same amount of energy that it ends up in California, right? So what that means is if you have it in your brain, if it's part of your neural pathways of you having the monatomic gold, then your thought instincts, that electricity in your brain, that electricity that flows through your body, the electricity that flows from your nervous system, your muscles, your twitch muscles, that sort of thing, you'll be faster, stronger, you'll respond better, you'll heal easier, heal better. So that's the first thing to understand. That's the first thing I want to throw out there to you, is how vibranium recognizes frequency. It's about frequency, about vibrating, right? Now in the movie, a big portion of it, and let me know how the feed is on YouTube, because it keeps coming up as bad signal. So let me know if it's skipping or anything like that. But in the movie, in the first act, one of the things that you start to see the geopolitical problem, right? That's gonna be through the whole movie, because T'Challa's dad died. Now T'Challa has to go through the process of becoming king. So if anybody challenges him, he needs to go through the challenge. One guy, Umbaku, challenged him. He won, and then he got to be. It's pausing just a bit. Okay, I still haven't got my super Wi-Fi going in this location. I'm working on it. So if I need to repeat anything, Pop, just let me know. Anybody on YouTube, let me know if I need to repeat anything. So the first hint of the geopolitical issue is not between T'Challa and later on who is Eric Killmonger, but it's first between Eric Killmonger's dad and T'Challa's dad, T'Chaka. So it's T'Challa is the Black Panther is that everybody know about, and then T'Chaka is his dad. Well, as we knew in Avengers: Age of Ultron, Ulysses Claw stole a cache of vibranium and gave it to Ultron. How did he get it? Eric Killmonger's dad was the one who helped him steal it, who told him all about Wakanda. That's why Ulysses Claw knew about it, which I must say, Andy Serkis had played an excellent Ulysses Claw. He was funny through the whole movie, well, through his parts of the movie, because he got, spoiler alerts, because he died. But so what you had in the movie, so now you got so the first deal is the fact that Eric Killmonger's dad thinks that Wakanda, being an isolationist country, needs to come out of its isolation, that it needs to help oppressed people, oppressed melanated people all around the world, to overthrow their oppressors through violence and war. And this is what he believed. And in that, he was, he had left Wakanda, but there were spies. People were spies. He was a spy, but then he had a spy spying on him. So it was a spy on the spy on the spy. And once they found out that he had betrayed Wakanda, T'Chaka killed him. Eric Killmonger's left there. T'Chaka just leaves the boy. No parents, nothing. Just rolls out on him. It's kind of messed up as a king, which goes into this thought process later on when he says that, it's hard to be a good man and a good king. It's the two don't really match, because you have to make decisions like that. Whether they are good ones or bad ones, come out right, come out wrong, you still got to make those kind of decisions. So what we had was it established that a main plot point of this movie is going to be the fact that the unity between Africa and unity between other African descendants who have been in America through slavery, or they've been in other countries, Brazil through slavery, or they've been in India or any other country, and they have become the oppressed people of that country, that Wakanda / Africa has a responsibility of utilizing its resources to help alleviate this oppression. Whereas Wakanda, being the richest country in the world, the most, I don't want to say intelligent, being the most advanced country in the world, should be assisting in this, but they're not. They're isolationists. They're withholding. They're just living in their little paradise and letting the world suffer. So you're going to see two different variations of this fight. One from somebody in America, but the other was from T'Challa's old girlfriend, whose name just fell out my head. But his old girlfriend, she was doing the same thing, but she was like trying to free the enslaved, the women who were being captured by guerrilla warfare fighters in Africa. She was helping to free them. She thought that Wakanda needed to do more as well, but her way of doing it was more through espionage and not through direct confrontation, right? So you see that battle, and with that battle, we're going to have a maturation of King T'Challa, right? He's going to grow. We're going to see him develop in that. Yeah, Nakia. Thank you, Shay. Nakia. So you see him develop and you see him grow through the process of realizing that Wakanda has a service that it must provide for the rest of the country, right? Well, the rest of the world that has a role to play. And we're going to come back to that, because in it you see, and we're not going to go through every aspect of the movie. You're going to have to go see this movie, but I definitely want to hit on a lot of the esoteric alchemy parts of it and the community parts of the movie. So as we continue through the movie, you're introduced to the character of Eric Killmonger. Now, I thought it was very interesting. I've always known this because, like I said, I read the comic, but I always look at back information. Eric Killmonger. Eric is a Norse Germanic name that means honorable king, right? Now, you have to understand, his daddy was a prince of one of the tribes of Wakanda. One of the so he was a prince of Wakanda. So he was his name Eric, a king, honorable king. But Killmonger, we all know what kill means. Kill. Monger. To monger something means to overly excessively, do something or desire something or to will something. So he is a killmonger. He overly excessively want to kill. So he's an honorable king who overly excessively wants to kill. That's what his name means. So it would so in his role as playing the antagonist whose main focus is I want to arm everybody, just like my dad was saying, let's arm everybody because we want to kill. That is why Eric Killmonger, that's why he stayed on that role. And that was his role through the entire movie. Now, he was very well trained. Now, some people have made I've heard some commentary on the fact that Eric Killmonger purposely used the American training, Western culture, Western training in order to go back home. He took the resources of his oppressors and used them for his purpose of uplifting himself into the kingship in Wakanda. So a political message there is to take what you have, what you learn. See, too many people they just want to fight. They just want to fight. But take what you learn, take the game that's played, reuse it to facilitate it in your community, right? So many people, they talk about business in the black community. Well, you see how the game is played. You see what people in your community are going to buy and what they're not going to buy. For instance, beauty supplies, nail shops, wing places. These are viable businesses in your community. They're viable business in any community, right? For the most part. So instead of somebody else doing it, you do it in your own community. We know that banks are viable. Do it in your own community. Grocery stores are viable. Do it in your own community. And one aspect of the movie is you may have different cultural things, like the people in the mountains, the people by the river, the people who were the farmers, they all had different cultural things, but they all came together. The 7 tribes came together to form one nation. One of the problems and issues that that's in the black community is the fact that if my religion is Islam and this person's religion is Christianity and this person over here is a Hebrew Israelite and that person over there is an atheist, and if the Hebrew Israelite owns the grocery store, then none of us want to go shop in the grocery store because of religion separation, instead of saying that we are all in the same community. The movie was showing you that the elders who sat around the throne all had representation and power, and they all worked together. That's why the chant was always Wakanda forever, right? That's what it was, Wakanda forever. So you got to have that mentality. It doesn't matter your religion. You're in the same community. That's your neighbor. You should be shopping at each other's businesses. You should be working to make each other's schools better because it's the same school. Your kids are going to the same school. Like I said in the beginning, I watched this movie in Texas. So I was in Arlington, Texas, right, over the weekend. And the next morning, hey, Frankie, how you doing? The next morning, had to get up, go get some stuff from the grocery store, just a pack of eggs, right, from the grocery store to make some breakfast. Well, the closest store was a Vietnamese grocery store. Now, one thing I had noticed the day before is that there was a Vietnamese Catholic church, there was a Vietnamese Methodist church, there was 2 Vietnamese Buddhist temples, and there was a Vietnamese Baptist church. And they all come and shop at the same grocery store because they were all Vietnamese, and they all shopped at the same grocery store because they were all in the same neighborhood, the same community. They had their different religions, but they didn't care about that because they cared more about community. That you can respect somebody's belief and maintain community. That's a huge lesson in the movie. 7 different tribes, different ways of life. Like the people in the mountain, you notice like where Man-Ape was. Well, in the comic book, his name is Man-Ape, but it's M'Baku. M'Baku had all the wood, right? They somehow developed this tech to harden the wood, and they're more naturalist. So they had all these wood weapons. So they had a different perspective on technology and things like that. But they still all came together to form the council. And also notice that they all came together and it didn't matter about gender. There were an equal number of women sitting at the table as there were men sitting at the table. We saw that the Dora Milaje was the super police, super security for the throne. So it's not like they had a bunch of dudes. They had women. A lot of the tech people were women. So they showed that talent, ability mattered over your gender. That didn't matter, as you know, that wasn't the main issue. So all had equal footing at the table. So in your community, all should have equal footing at the table. If you own a wing place, then just because if a person is Christian who own it, and your neighborhood if you're Muslim or whatever, or Jew or Hindu or Buddhist, it shouldn't matter. You're in the same community. You live in the same community. Your kids go to the same schools. You should support the entire entity of your community, and that was one of the things that they were showing in Wakanda. Now, of course, they weren't showing it outside of their community, which is what Eric Killmonger was trying to get across, which is what Nakia was trying to get across. And their methods weren't necessarily they weren't the same. Nakia, espionage, Eric want to kill everybody, right? Want to just have war and suppress everybody and oppress everybody. So we had those different dynamics. Now, another very esoteric thing as far as what made the Wakandan people and what made the Black Panther a king, right? Most people didn't get this part. I guarantee. If you got this, let me know if this clicked right off the whip. So now you know, once he becomes, once you become king, you win the trial, the test. You go down into the cave, and everything was always dark. All right, so it's a couple of things that you got to get here. Everything was always dark. 90% of the movie was all in dark rooms, dark lighting. Okay, so it was all dark. Then, when they go down there, they eat the heart-shaped herb. That's purple. That's grown right there with the vibranium. Once he eats it, he goes into a trance, and then they gotta bury him, and then they wake up in the astral plane. Let me break all that down for you as to what they were showing you. The first thing they wanted to show you is that everything was dark, right? So what are we talking about? Everything being dark. We're talking about dark matter, dark energy. Scientists today are still trying to figure out dark matter and dark energy. How does it work? We know that most of the universe is comprised of dark energy, dark matter. That in between every proton and neutron and electron is space, dark matter space. You look up in space, go outside of the Earth's atmosphere, and it's all dark. Dark matter encompasses most of the universe. Dark energy. Not that it's evil. See, religion wants to make you think that it's evil, but dark energy is not evil. We just don't know how to use it, don't know the full impact of it. So first of all, dark energy. Then, the heart-shaped herb. Stay with me on this part, right? The heart-shaped herb. That was the little purple flower that they had that was growing, right? The little purple flower. It has two meanings. First of all, heart-shaped, representing the heart chakra, okay? It's representing the heart chakra. Then, the color of the herb was purple, representing the third eye, your pineal gland. Now, also in the pineal gland, right next to your pineal gland, is a leaf-like portion of the brain that then stretches out like a plant, like plant roots. So you got the pineal gland, purple. You got the heart shape. Now, here's the thing about my people who meditate and they understand chakras, is that when you are from the base chakra up to your heart chakra is the physical world. Once you go to the heart chakra and go up, you're entering the spirit realm. Well, in order to enter the spirit realm, it is it's called taken a 90-degree turn, meaning that you got to do a massive change, a massive understanding on the emotional plane. Now, when you get to your third eye, your pineal gland, to get to your crown chakra, again, you have to do another 90-degree understanding. A 90-degree understanding with your emotions is that you don't make decisions based on your emotions, everything don't function based on your emotions, and that love is eternal, and that you just you love unconditionally. Now, of course, people treat you bad, you don't keep giving to them, taking care of them, but you still love people instead of hating people. 90-degree turn in your pineal gland, meaning that your thoughts, the way you think about people, the vision you have. If you can't see past race, then you have not opened your pineal gland. You are still lacking vision. If you still see gender, you're lacking. You understand? So it's a 90-degree turn. Now, the heart-shaped herb opens both the heart and the pineal gland. They buried him in the red clay from the foundation. Red is your foundation chakra. They buried him. And then he's reborn into the astral plane. You see, when your third eye opens, then you can enter the astral plane. In the Kabbalion, that's talking about as above, so below. Going into the law of correspondence, the different planes. You have the matter plane, the physical plane. You have the matter plane, the mental plane, and the spiritual plane. So in order to go from the matter plane to the spiritual plane, 90-degree turn of the heart. From the spiritual plane to the mental plane, then you go from the mental plane to the spiritual plane, a 90-degree turn in the pineal gland in order to get there. So he had to go through that process to be then reborn, coming out of the dirt. On the other side, he's reborn. Notice the clothes changed. He went in there, no shirt, came out, white shirt on. He was reborn into the astral plane, where he talked to his daddy and the previous Black Panthers, but previous kings were all there. So he had to go through that 90-degree turn. He had to be reborn into the consciousness of the plane of spiritualism and the plane of mentalism in order to see his father have that talk. Eric Killmonger went through the same thing. But notice their turns, their entrance into these planes were of their own creation, their own vision. They didn't go to the same place. Eric Killmonger went to see his daddy, right, and talk to his father. T'Challa, he went to talk to his daddy and the previous kings, right? You see what I'm saying? So he had to make that change. And then he even told him, I'm not ready. He told his dad, I ain't ready to come here yet, that you were wrong, right? So they had communication, and then they come back. And now they're imbued with the Black Panther power, the essence. They have been an avatar of it. And if you go into the comic, right, and even I think on the animated series, they show that at some point, by continuously understanding these levels of these planes, that the Black Panther is able to take on the full guise of Basset, of the Panther god, and he turns into like a full panther, like non-human looking, just full panther own kind of deal. But you have to go into the animated series and the comic books in order to see that aspect of it. But I mean, did any of you guys catch that? I mean, I caught that. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, they talking pineal glands. They talking chakras right there. Was I the only one who saw it? Did you see it? Did you see it? I don't know. I saw it. No? Yeah. Okay, well. Let me know if you see it. I know your comments may be a little bit behind on that one. But so, yeah. So, they're showing you this. That through your meditation and through opening yourself up, then you can make your own transitions. And yes, some people go and they go to Brazil, they do the ayahuasca, and they have these DMT trips, and it takes them to different levels of consciousness. I'm not telling anybody, but, oh, dude, I'm sorry you ain't seen it. Oh, so you ain't seen it? Well, sorry. I said spoilers. No, don't feel like you've seen it. I'm leaving a lot of stuff out. Okay, Frankie's seen it. I'm leaving a lot of stuff out. So it's still, you got to go see it. And don't tell Shay, but I'm going to trick her and we're going to go see it again. But I'm leaving a lot of stuff out that I could talk about as well, right? Because, like, there are a lot of things that Claw said that's very relevant to community and geopolitical politics and the world in itself. So I'm leaving a lot of stuff out. Speaking of geopolitical stuff, right? In the end of the movie, you got T'Challa. He's talking to the UN, right? And he's saying that we are going to show the world. Wakanda's going to open its doors. We're going to share with you what we have, and we're going to show the world. I said spoiler alerts earlier, but he said we're going to show the world how that we can better treat each other. And then one little smart butt UN representative said, "You're a country of farmers. What can you show us?" And he just smiled with this little grin, right? Let me tell you what was going on in that one. And let me tell you about world politics. You see, the world we live in today only cares about who has power, right? Good. I'm glad you're still going. All right. I'm glad you're still going. So the world we live in only cares about power. Whoever has power has leverage. Everything is about leverage, right? So when T'Challa smiled at him, is because he knows that he already has leverage with all the things, all the advancements of Wakanda. The other guy gave his little smart butt comment about you're just a bunch of farmers, right? That was a shot. Yeah, that was a shot at the government. But you got just a bunch of little farmers. What T'Challa recognizes is that once Wakanda, and I hope we see this in the next two movies of it. Once you open up the door, you show that you can. You remember how Everett Ross gets shot in the back, almost dies. They heal him. He's tripping because he's like, no one heals quickly or like that, right? It's because their ability to use vibranium to match the frequencies of the injury and to match the frequencies of the ability to heal the body. He heals like in a day from a gunshot to the back, to his spine, right? That should have killed him, because I think it's like the L7 vertebrae that gets hit or something like that, which in most cases you die on that one. So now, can a society survive left alone or thrive without trade? The Wakanda could survive and thrive left alone without trade because of vibranium. Vibranium will allow them to grow crops at a healthier and faster rate. It allows them to produce clothing and manufacturing. I mean, their level of technology, according to the movie, with something like vibranium, yes. In the world today, you look at a country like America. In truth, America can survive as an isolationist country. It really can. Now, because of geopolitics, we would find that's why we had to get rid of the Monroe Doctrine. Right. That's why I say in the movie with vibranium. Yeah, that's how it works. But that's why I was saying in America, America is big enough. It's a huge country. We produce enough food that we could feed everybody in America. We have enough natural resources that we can have enough oil, we have enough of everything in America to take care of America. But because of geopolitics and war and other people who don't have as much resources as America has, that would cause other people to want to war against America. But we could, as an American country, that ability is there. If Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, was united and shared resources in the same way that in an American kind of style, like a united Africa, where they had a federal government and multiple states, if every country represented states, Africa has enough of its own resources to be able to do that as well. India, although greatly overpopulated, has enough resources, but they would definitely have to start shrinking their population. So I was talking about Wakanda in the movie, but I'm just saying what we can learn from it is, and see, you threw me off asking that question. But I'm going to get back to my other answer I was getting to. But let me finish answering your question on this one, unless it's not relevant to you. But there are countries that can. America, countries close to the equator that has enough, the ability to farm for itself and a lot of natural resources, can live without other outside interference, without trade, if they're big enough and they are working with each other. The problem is that countries don't have a tendency to not do that because they want to conquer other people, right? They want to go and take what somebody else has. And this is the problem when you have countries that are farther away from the equator. They don't have the ability to maintain resources to match their population, so they go out colonizing and taking from other people, or they go out and trade with other people, which is why we get our British Empire. The creation of something like the British Empire is because they went out. Great Britain on that little island can't provide for all its people, so they had to go out. Initially trading, but then we're Great Britain. We're great because we say we're great, so we're going to go out and conquer other people because we're great. And they do it. They colonize. Now, as far as what Wakanda was doing, and that comment that was made at the end of the movie about Wakanda, if you had a country that is leading to that degree in medicine, right? If they're leading to that degree in medicine, if they're leading to that degree in energy, remember how they was using vibranium as an energy source, and if they're leading to that degree in weaponry, but just leading in energy and medicine, a country like that far ahead, would have the leverage to affect world politics. That the world will bend to their will. That when you can cure a person who was shot in a L3 or L7 vertebrae, and that person is healed the next day, right? Then that country has medical leverage beyond anybody else. All right. When your food has elements in it that gives people greater vitality and is produced and it becomes part of their genome, that would cause that. Okay, I got a question. Do you see any similarity to tungsten and vibranium? I cannot answer that question because I don't know much about tungsten to be able to, I don't know enough about tungsten to answer that question, right? But so tell me about tungsten, Melvin. And you said, that's right, it makes you believe. It does make you believe. Do you believe that immigrants bring their problems as stated in the movie? Well, do immigrants bring their problem as stated in the movie? That is one very narrow way of looking at it, right? How you doing, Shondell? That's one very narrow way of looking at it. Because what you're saying or suggesting is that all immigrants are bringing some kind of problem. Most immigrants that I've ever met, and been in the military, I've met more than just immigrants in America. I've lived in Germany for 3.5 years. I met immigrants in Germany. I've met immigrants. This is make believe. Oh, yeah, it is make believe. But I met immigrants when I was in all over North Africa and Central Africa. I've met immigrants. And here's the thing about it. Every country, all these countries send immigrants, and all these countries receive immigrants. Right. Right. The king said that in the movie. Exactly. Well, no, I don't know if it was it the king or was it one of his advisors, I thought, said that one. But somebody in the royal court did say that. But immigrants are going to bring both, right? They're going to bring both issues and they're going to bring something that's useful for the country, right? When you have immigrants who are criminals, of course, they're bringing their problems. When you have, and some people may see an immigrant who comes from a third world nation, what we call a third world nation, come into a more industrial nation, and they're because getting $8 an hour in America is far better than getting, $8 a month in some other country. And that $8 that you get in America, it gives you a far better life and better medical. They're going to come. And yeah, they're going to live off that and they're going to do what they do. And yeah, they're not living in the best areas. And there is a certain amount of crime that is in lower income areas. But here's the thing about that. You get that with people who are just in your country, right? It doesn't matter if they're immigrant or not. How many people born in America are criminals? Our jail system in America, which we jail most people, they got, it's mostly Americans in there, right? We put most of our jails are filled with our own people. And it's because poverty breeds crime. Now the question should be, how do we alleviate the poverty? You said it sounds like, it does sound like a Donald Trump statement that they made in the Royal Court of Wakanda, but you cannot have it where you're going to just get the best people to come into your country. It's kind of like a pastor made a joke one time, a long time ago when I was a kid. This pastor made a joke. He said, if you ever go to a perfect church, then you shouldn't go in because you're going to mess it up. There's no such thing as perfection. You're not going to get perfect people. You're not going to have a perfect country. There's no reason, I'm going to tell you right now, there was an opportunity that I had in Germany when I was living there, that if I would have taken that opportunity, I wouldn't have came back to America. What am I coming back to America for? I'd have had a much better life where I was at. So I wouldn't have came back. If people are in another country living a great life, why would they leave? They're not. Usually people who immigrate are people who want to have a better life or who are going through some kind of oppression, right? Yeah, and so at the first, at the beginning of the movie, the Wakandan government, I said that the Wakandans were an isolationist country. They didn't want other people coming in. They wanted to protect their culture, their way of life. They felt like outside people, not just um, and see, we can't just think of poor people or criminals. They didn't want oppressive people coming. If you listen to the first part of the movie, they were talking about we don't want oppressive people coming. We don't want the warring Europeans to come into our country. We don't want the warring African nations to come and try to get what we got. They didn't want any of the warring countries to try to come in because they see our resources. Look at Botswana. About 40, um, about 50 years ago, Botswana discovered a large cache of diamonds. Who's the first person running there? De Beers. What did they do? They shut down the diamond mines to make sure they only produce a certain amount so that they can keep the value of diamonds up, even though it's a inflated fake value. All right. So I don't think any country should be anti-immigration. I think every country should be able to allow people. If you're a country that has a better opportunity and people are trying to escape oppression, people are trying to just have a better way of life, and they've saved their money and they've done all these different things to get to your country, I think it should be fair. Um, I think you should be able to let people in based on their merits. I mean, I do think we have to scrutinize who we let in, but we can't just say, oh, people from more industrious countries, they get to get in before other people, you know. So, um, but I think that what they realize by the end of the movie is that they can't sit back, they can't hide, they have to become part of the world scene. They can't be a country that doesn't allow people in or help people out. You say you're catching hell on Facebook because Killmonger wasn't a villain in my eyes. I mean, if that's your point of view, he wasn't a villain. He wasn't a villain. Now he was somewhat of a villain because he wanted to go out and oppress other people. He wanted to go out and revenge. It's different when you're a Harriet Tubman and you just want to free people and then allow them to be free. But when you want to free people and then oppress the other people, then that's a villain, right? So I'm gonna say he was a villain, but he's more like an anti. He was like he has the right mindset, but the wrong way of doing it is the way I would look at that one. Yeah, it was a Roy Court member. It's a metal being harvested in Africa today. Some say it's the strongest metal. If tungsten is, I've heard of tungsten. I just don't know enough about it to be able to really talk about it. If it was, but if it is the strongest metal, then it will be something that will be sought after. Linda says, "I got it. Did you notice that Eric went back into where he last saw his dad? That T'Challa's father was in a different realm because of their heart. Eric and his father's spirit realm operated on the lower level. I wouldn't say it operated on a lower level. I think they saw him. They saw him on an astral plane. They saw. See, here's the thing about the law of correspondence. In the law of correspondence, you're going to everything that is here is there. The negativity that's there is there. Negativity on every level is on every level. The poles of polarity don't change just because you're at a higher ascent or a lower descent. That's a matter mentality to think that, oh, and it's also a teaching of religion. If you go to heaven, everything's great. But if as above, so below, then if everything that is above is below, then everything that's below is above. So if there's some jacked up things at the next level, it's going to be some jacked up things at every level of consciousness. So I wouldn't necessarily say he vibrating at a lower level, right? Right. Killmonger was looking at the glass half full, right? He was only seeing the one side. He just wanted revenge because he wanted to satisfy his pain, his hurt. You saw him as a black Magneto. Yeah, exactly. It's the same character build as Magneto. Magneto wanted to oppress those who had hurt him. Remember, Magneto was his storyline is that he was a Jewish boy who survived the concentration camps, right? And because of that, of losing his family and all that, he just wanted to fight. He just wanted to suppress, right? Because people treated him different. And if you know much about the Marvel period, Marvel wrote the mutants to represent oppressed people because of genetic things that they couldn't change, right? Yeah. Magneto is Jewish, according to the comic book. So, but yeah, Stan Lee is Jewish as well, and I think Kirby is as well. And this is one of those things that people kept bringing up. Like, these are two Jewish guys who wrote this thing. So, I could care less if they were Jewish. What I care about is the content of what they wrote. In the 1966, they wrote a comic book that showed a black man as a king of the richest, most technologically advanced country in the world. They wrote them as intelligent. They had a rich culture. This is 1966 that they wrote this, when black people in America were not being treated as if they descended from kings and queens, or they had a culture or at all, or ancestry that was good or great, but was being taught that everything, that their history didn't start till slavery, that everything was so backwards, and that they needed colonization. They need colonizers to come in and change their lives for the better. So they wrote that at a time frame when it wasn't looked upon favorable to be favorable to black people. They also, so that's what the whole X-Men represented. But of course they also represented the fight. Magneto was supposed to represent Malcolm X, where Professor Xavier was supposed to represent Dr. King. That was their mindset going into that one. So the fact that they wrote this during that time frame, yeah, and it does. Well, that's kind of sad if you have to stop reading the comic because he was Jewish. I mean, it's just about messaging. If we only learned from people, if we can't learn from all people, then we got a problem. We have an issue. That's the thing. We should be able to learn from all people. Do I care that Kierkegaard is not black? I don't care. I don't care that Nietzsche. I don't care what these people are. Marcus Aurelius is one of my favorite. I know. Okay, I see you joking. Okay, you got me on the say now. Marcus Aurelius is one of my favorite philosophers, and he was Roman, and he was killing folks. But I don't care. I like that dude. He had a great philosophy. Stanley has said a lot in personal interviews about trying to change through his comics. Exactly. That's how they did that. You know. Which that's one of the reasons why, as a kid, I loved Marvel, and then Marvel seemed more realistic because, and I know I'm talking about comic realistic, but it's like they told you they was in New York, they told you they was in San Francisco, while DC is making up cities. You're in Central City. Nobody, where's that at? You're in Gotham, Metropolis. Yeah, we know it's New York, but both of them, Gotham and Metropolis, were New York back in the day. So no, I'm not taking anything offensive. I can't. If I try to say the first name, I'm gonna mess it up. Kiki Stan. Yeah, I see refugee. I'm just gonna call you refugee because I'm gonna mispronounce that first part, and I don't want you. I don't want to mess up what I'm saying. But no, it's not. There's nothing to apologize for. We're just looking at it. I mean, this is what dialogue is about, and I love dialogue. It's when people just get into endless blind conversation that's just messed up, right? Um, okay. The scary thing about the movie was the end. King T'Challa seemed to again heading down the same path as other African tribes who share their wealth and knowledge, and ended up being to their detriment. Well, that could be, but we can't look at. Remember, they always say that if you don't, that history is for you to learn from. That if you don't learn from history, then you're destined to repeat history. So yeah, you could look at it that he's headed down that path. But what I would say, because of the structure that they already have set up, you got to understand that there's a different way. You think for a second. Just walk with me for a second here. Most African nations in real world, they began sharing their resources and their knowledge when they were not at a militarily strong point. They weren't able to defend themselves, right? But when you are able to defend yourself and defend your borders, defend your resources, and you decide to share your technology, then other countries will respect that. You see, if you look at America, when after the Revolutionary War, America wasn't that strong of a country. So then it had the French and Indian War, the War of 1812. But if there was a major push during those years to take back America, then it could have been done. You know, if Britain wasn't concerned with other nations and only focused on America, it could have taken back America. If the French weren't helping America, it could have taken back America at that time frame as well. When you can defend your borders and you stand there and get the respect of, I got a gun that's just as big as yours, if not bigger, and I will blast you to hell, people come to you differently. Then they say, okay, here's my hand in friendship because I know I can't beat you. You know, America used to talk trash and treat China like they didn't care about China, or China was nothing 100 years ago. But they don't now because China can defend itself and they can defend their resources. As long as Wakanda, in the way it's set up, if it can defend its resources. So that's why I would say that I was given a lesson earlier today about how if you wanted to change your community, then first you have to take command of your resources in your community. If you start buying the buildings in your community, you start buying the businesses and owning the businesses in your community and owning the homes and houses in your community, then you're starting to have leverage in your community. Now the schools and the politicians have to listen to you. When you start to own more than 40-50% of the houses and building the land and businesses in your community, now they have to listen to you, right? And as long as you keep building that structure, then you become somebody that the police are not just going to run in and treat the people in your community like crap. If you go to, and if you're here in Atlanta, if you go up into Buckhead, you go into Alpharetta, you go into Sandy Springs, Marietta, you go into these places where the majority of people who live there own the homes and they own the land, own the business. The police don't run in there and treat people crazy. Of your color, you don't get treated crazy, right? Not like to the same extent as somebody in the areas where nobody owns nothing, right? So when you own and control your borders, you don't get used up. But a lot of the African nations did not own their borders. They still were leaning heavily on their previous colonizers, so they couldn't. They of course they was abused. They was abused. But imagine if all the sub-Saharan nations of Africa came together and formed the United Nation of Africa, right? You know, they formed Akibulan. And each nation now represented a state, and they had a Congress and a Senate and a president. They just mirror it like we got here in America. And they did that. I would guarantee you that after 100 years, that if they mobilize the military, mobilize their technology, and mobilize their natural resources, that they will be just as respected. They'll be part of the G6. But it takes that kind of commitment and patience in order for something like that to happen. And as far as and I think that's one of the things the movie was trying to show, right? Is that it can happen. We can't get stuck in the past and think that it's just going to be a repeat. You know, even though all the world history is a repeat, it's not always a repeat in the same area, right? What happened to America can happen in Africa, right? Of how America became a united nation built on years, a couple of 100 years of gelling. Look at what China has been able to do. And you have to take it all the way back to the warring states of China and their development from them. But like Refugee is saying, one of the things that slowed down, China could have easily been a world power a lot earlier in world history, but they were isolationists, which caused them to slow down. You got to trade with people. You got to be connected and stand attuned to what's going on. So, yep, got to have some unity. We should deliver freedom to Africa. Great idea. Well, I don't know how well we're going to be. See, the part about delivering freedom to anybody, people have to want it. You can't force people to take something they don't want. It would be great if all of Africa got together and banded together and demanded unity, but the people there have to demand it, right? I mean, I do believe that just as much as the movie was trying to show that they have a responsibility to all oppressed people around the world, everybody in America has a responsibility to other oppressed people around the world. That no one should be living in an oppressed government, where people are being oppressed. You know, they shouldn't. If you, everybody, I'm not a communist, right? But I do like what Marx and Engels wrote in their Communist Manifesto, that everyone should have an equal opportunity to prove exactly how unequal they are. Meaning that everybody should have the opportunity to get the same education, to the same medicine, the same everything in the beginning years, their developmental years, just to prove how unequal they are. And if you, and this is where Marx and Engels went off track, if you have studied more and you produce more, then you should get more. You know, so mine would be like, and I'm not saying socialism either, but you know, everybody should have an equal chance. The Chinese are gaining a nice foothold in there right now. Exactly, China has. But if it wasn't, if they had skipped the isolationist time frame, China would be much, much, much farther along as far as being a world power. All right, you know, America almost fell backwards during the Monroe Doctrine, and it went into an isolationist position. So, yeah. Are the Chinese considered oppressive? If you had asked that question 20 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, yes. But what China, ever since Tiananmen Square, the changes that has been occurring in China since Tiananmen Square has made the country less oppressive. As a matter of fact, about a year ago, oh, you talking about they have a nice foothold in Africa. They have a huge foothold in Africa. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But one of the things that has impressed me with China is that even though they're still a communist government, they decided this, I think it's like a year ago or 2 years ago, that by 2050 that they want to produce another 5 million millionaires or something like that. Like, they are getting heavy into their building their people and building finances and their version of capitalism. Yeah, they still have the one child policy. This is true because they're overcrowded. They're overcrowded. I don't see it as something oppressive. I see it as something that's necessary. It's a necessary thing. It's just like in some countries, it became necessary. I think it's a Tibetan country or a village in Tibet where it's necessary for a woman to have multiple husbands because of their population and their ability to feed their people, right? And the foothold that China has in Africa is huge. It's a huge foothold that they have in Africa. They're heavily investing in Africa. I just read this piece. Yeah, and they have a huge foothold here in America too. I just read this piece how you guys remember the guy Akon, right? Akon was able to get a $1 billion line of credit from China in order to provide solar powered electricity to over 75 million people in Africa. You know, China is ahead of the game. China is, that's a huge amount of goodwill. That's a huge amount of effort that they're putting in there that 100 years from now will pay off in huge dividends as far as relations between the continent of Africa and China, because Africa has more natural resources than any other country in the world, than any other landmass in the world. Let me put it like that. Forget countries, forget borders, but than any other landmass in the world is there, right? So, I mean, it's a huge thing that they did that. When they did that, I thought that was ingenious, that they're planning down the line. Like, China has, 20 years ago, I was reading about how China had their 2050 plans already moving forward, right? 2050. I'm talking about 20 years ago. So they was planning for 70 years, which can probably mean they was planning for 100 years down the line or 200 years down the line. And that's how you plan. That's how you build and make sure your country is still there. You're planning for hundreds of years down the line, and you're moving in a direction that makes it so that your country survives and thrives 100 years down the line. Said how Chinese and African marriage, it can end positively simply by changing what the people see. All right, look at this movie Black Panther, right? And the more and more you see an image, the more and more you deal with a people, the more and more you have positive effects with a people or a group, then as the next generation comes up, that just becomes how life was, how life is. You know, when I talk to a lot of Jamaicans when I was spent time in England. As far as Jamaican people are concerned, their relationship with England is great. Them traveling between Jamaica and England, going to school in England, getting a college degree in it. That's just what they do. A Jamaican going to England to live, work, or get an education was as normal as me living in Atlanta deciding I'm going to go to DC to go get an education, a job, and live. Right? It was that normal. I believe that the more China and Africa deal and trade with each other, that each generation will see less. Now it depends on what kind of imagery. You say that Chinese, so you say Chinese are fiercely racist, but if they're so fiercely racist, why are they putting why they give a black man $1 billion to build electricity for 75 million black people in Africa, right? And sure, yeah, they have an end game. Because you know what trumps racism? Money. Money will trump racism every time. And yeah, granddaddy might be a racist as all get out. And some of that get passed down to the son. And then a little less to the next son, and so on and so forth. But now the problem would be the way that racism and oppression would continue to thrive, though, is if the Chinese keep staying on top and they oppress, and the Africans stay below. If leverage is not gained, then it won't. Then you're right. It'll stay some kind of issue. And that's one of the things I like about the end of the movie. They were showing that with their advances, being able to come in and buy buildings. Remember at the end they came in, they bought all those buildings. They showed them their ship. I was going to say spaceship, but they bought those buildings. They're putting money into that Oakland area. That is how you do it. And I think he's saying that, Killmonger, you're right. We do have a responsibility. We do have things we can do. But the way we're going to do this is by buying the buildings and then influencing people through our education and through our money, right? No, you didn't say they were racist. Somebody else, refugee, said they were racist. They're altruistic. That motivates. Yeah, that altruism motivates the Chinese. You're right. So, all right, guys, it's been an hour, and I really enjoyed this Zen of Friends right here, talking about this movie. I'm going to definitely go see it again. I might do a secondary, just one-time video about it to break it down a little bit more on certain other aspects that I didn't get to cover tonight, because there were some other things about the movie that I wanted to cover. But I want to keep my podcast every Tuesday from 8 till 9. I don't want to go too far beyond that. All right. So I want to try to stay true to that. Please invite other people to start joining the podcast. All right. Start joining the podcast. Come with us. You know, we talk about business. We talk about relationships. We'll deal with alchemy and hermetics. Everything about this channel is about making your life better, about doing better and making your life better, about making this world better and having a greater impact and legacy on the world and everything around it. Right. I hope I challenged you without insulting anyone. Free speech is actually no. You were fine, refugee. Don't feel like you were challenged, that you weren't insulting at all. And that's the thing. We're always going to dialogue. We're always going to dialogue. The only thing, I don't like trolls. You know, trolls irritate me, who just want to come in and just, you know, say hateful things. But you're dialoguing. We're good. We're good. But yeah, so I'm gonna sneak and see this, you know, again this weekend. I already been told I got 2 other dates of other events I got to go to, but it's good. So I appreciate you guys. Hey, if you like what I do, please join my Patreon. You know, at patreon.com/Coach Renz. Please do a video saying, yeah. And that's one beautiful thing. If you're on my Patreon and you suggest videos, they definitely get done. Yes, Linda is already a member. But even on here, you suggest videos, most of them will get done. Please do a video on the astral plane. I will do that, some videos on that, because on my Patreon, we're getting ready to start to do a meditation series. Not just for astral travel, not just for opening your third eye, but we're going to okay, I misread that at first, but we're going to work on meditation. We have to learn how to de-stress and get our energies right. If you remember in the early part, I said when they eat the heart-shaped plant, There's a 90-degree turn for your heart. Most people, they'll run around, oh, I open my heart chakra, open my heart chakra. But no, you're still not ready to receive love, right? And not real love. Your heart is still blocked because all your love got conditions on it, right? And your third eye may not be fully open because you still see things on just the matter plane. We all know that this is energy, right? This is all energy. But we have to be able to see everybody as energy. Those who still think that color makes a difference, that gender makes a difference, you still haven't made the 90-degree turn to truly see the universe as the universe really is, to truly feel the universe as the universe really is. You will never be able to use the law of vibration and manifest in your life what you truly want until you can feel the universe for what it is and see the universe for what it really is. Even no matter what book you read, it'll tell you to keep your one eye clear, you know. So that's what we have to do. That's one of the things we're going to start working on our Patreon account. So plasmauniverse.com. I'll check that out. But you guys have a great night. I enjoyed it. Y'all know I love running my mouth and talking, but I love talking to y'all and ideas, and some of the things that was said tonight has just spurred me to go and study some other thing. I'm going to study tungsten, and as well as just some other videos that we're going to talk about. And I already got a video that's in the wings right now I just got to edit and send that one out. That one is really about you following your desires to get out of life what you truly want. I mean, get out of life what you truly deserve, because most of us are chasing our wants instead of our desires, right? But when you stick with your desires, then life bends itself to you. So y'all have a great night. Remember that your greatness, that you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. No, in that one. And I never